tell me more about the university course itself. Obviously, university courses get broken down into different modules. So what modules do you do in the course?
Right, because it's done by the negotiated learning route, it means that it's not an off-the-peg degree. So in my first year, I did a certificate in medical education, which means it validates the teaching that I intend to do now and also in the future to other health professionals, because that's the same qualification that a consultant would have to teach his specialist subject. So it does mean that it makes me more acceptable, if you like, to the healthcare professionals. So I did that for my first year, and then last year what I did was assignments that I chose the learning outcomes on. So I wanted to explore more about Tantra and also more about Taoist lovemaking techniques, and went on a years-long tantric sex course, which I can't keep the smile off my face, really. I'm making this sound as if it was really terrible, and actually it wasn't. It was really very enjoyable, and I learned lots about tantric sex and also about Taoist lovemaking techniques. So I produced assignments that showed what the benefits were for our health, but also for our mental health as well. And then this year, I started at the end of September at Porterbrook Clinic in Sheffield. Porterbrook Clinic has the best reputation for psychosexual counselling and sex therapy, but they're also one of the most prestigious hospitals for transgendering, which is something I'm especially interested in, having assisted a friend through the transgendering process from being male to female. So at the moment, I'm doing 2 assignments on psychosexual counselling and sex therapy that will improve my skills as a psychosexual counsellor, but will also give me the model that the NHS use as well.
We should stress that it's not just some sort of fun thing we're talking about. This is actually recognised by medical profession now.
It is indeed, yeah.
So do you find that more and more people are coming towards this way of thinking now?
Yeah, really, it's had quite an impact on the rest of the students there, but also on the tutors, because I don't come from an NHS background. Primarily, I'm a complementary therapist, and I take in a completely different energy than the NHS model. However, I'm sure that it's really important for me to know what people may have endured previous to them finding their way to me. I need to know what is likely to have happened to them going through the NHS process. But it is becoming more and more frequent that I'm being asked by doctors to come and do training on psychosexual counselling and sex therapy, because increasingly people are presenting with the dysfunctions of our sexuality, and no pun intended, but the medical profession have very few tools to actually sort this out with. And I've got a much more comprehensive range of tools and treatments that I could use depending on what the presenting problem was, or what the person just wanted to improve. It isn't just about sexual problems, it's about just acknowledging that your sexual relationship could be better than it is, basically.
How does that feel for you, being a complementary therapist, as you've been for many, many years? And if I get this right, there's been like the medical profession and the complementary healers, and slowly they're coming together now, aren't they? It must be a good feeling for you personally, yeah, to be asked to do things by the doctors and what have you. Yeah,
it's been exceptionally, validating, I suppose, that for a number of years, probably about 5 years, I've been training doctors and consultants in complementary therapy. And because I'm not discreet about the degree that I'm doing, in fact, I'm quite the opposite of that, and tell everybody that this is the degree that I'm doing, because I think part of what we need to step away from is the shame attached to sex. It should not ever be a shameful act. So I think that just because I am so overt about talking about the degree has really helped people to access training from me. And the last 2 talks that I did for doctors, they asked would I come back and talk about some of the options, because for lots of patients, the medication that is available for sexual dysfunction problems doesn't suit everybody, and clearly there are side effects. So my energy is about giving people more than one option about how to heal things and how to make things better, either for the individual or also to enhance the couple's relationship. Inevitably, if we don't have a healthy sexual relationship with our partner, then the rest of the relationship's not working either, because part of that sexual relationship is about communication. So if our sexual relationship is going downhill, then the likelihood is that the rest of our relationship is also deteriorating. And I think increasingly doctors are coming round to that understanding that what happens to us mentally affects our physicality in a very profound way.
I think what you touched on there about it being like a taboo subject and people don't like to talk about it, that's half the battle, isn't it? Is actually getting people to open up and talk about it, realising that if you did things a bit differently as you're learning to do, then it could change your life completely, couldn't it?
Absolutely. It's got a really transformational energy just by teaching people that perhaps the very limited sex education that we were given as adolescents or whatever is really quite inadequate for what we need. But also we need to step right away for this shameful attitude that there's something not right about sex. It's actually our birthright to have a good sexual relationship. And, you know, the reason that we are sexual beings is because it's part of our spirituality. And Mantak Chia says that our spirituality is our sexuality is our spirituality. And I have to say, everything I've learnt over the last, I suppose, 15 years, there is nothing that I've learnt that has not completely validated his approach and that saying. So it's really obvious that people are, you know, ready to hear about this. And I'm really excited at the fact that so many people, once they've got over the initial, oh, did she really say she's doing a degree in sex, have actually asked me lots of questions and have been really open to learning more about it, and have gone off and done more research themselves, or have looked at some of the books that I recommend, or have looked at some of the sexual practices that I recommend as well. And it does seem to be that there's been a real awakening around our sexual health, and people trying to find more natural, more gentle ways of actually helping themselves without necessarily seeing an enhancement of your sexual relationship as a problem, because sometimes all it is about communicating your needs to the other person.
Fascinating subject.